Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the custom box Vuln0, which my friend Eugene and I made just a few days ago. Now I'm going to go over a pretty direct walkthrough of this box and give the solution to it, so anyone who has done it or is looking to do it can see what the solution is. Now down below in the description there's a link to all of the Packer and Ansible files you can use to build this box. So you can just download the dependencies. There's instructions in the Git repo of how to build this machine. It's very straightforward. You just need to have Packer and either VirtualBox or VMware installed, and then just run one simple command and it will build the machine for you. So that you can go ahead and follow along with this guide or try it on your own and come back if you get stuck. So to get started, I've spun up the VM on my local network. I also have a Kali machine which we are working off of, and I've identified the IP address on my home network as this address. I've done a quick Nmap scan of it to scan all ports and grab the service versions of the services that are running. Now we can see that port 22 is open, running OpenSSH, port 80 is open, running Apache, and port 8080 is open, running Moin Moin Wiki Standalone version 195. Now the first thing that I would do is browse to this IP on port 80 to see what we have going on there. Now here we see a page that says web services may reboot every few minutes due to maintenance. We apologize for the inconvenience. So right off the bat, we can kind of have the thought in the back of our minds that this web server may be rebooting every few minutes. Nothing really too useful for us now, but it's something to keep in mind. Now we also have this port 8080 open, which is running Moin Moin Wiki Standalone. So if we go to port 8080 to check out what we've got going on there, we can see this service running. Now you can do a little bit of enumeration on this service, check it out, what it is, what it does, all that kind of stuff. But the real important thing for us is that we know it's running version 195. So the first thing that I would do is go to Exploit and search for this service. So if we plug this in, and you can see that we get quite a few results back for the Moin Moin service. Now we already know that we are running version 195, so we can eliminate some of these right off the bat. Now, spoiler alert, there are two that seem to be applicable to this version, which is this exploit right here, which is a Metasploit module, and this one right here, which is for arbitrary command execution. Now, I could not get the Metasploit module to work right out of the box. That said, I could not get this exploit to work right out of the box as well. I'm not sure what the reason is for the different setups, but we're going to go through running this exploit and actually fixing it. So let's take a look at this one right here. Now, I kind of designed it this way on purpose. I thought it was a really good lesson to learn that you can't just pull, exploits off of ExploitDB, run it, and if the exploit doesn't work, you shouldn't really assume that the service isn't vulnerable. There might be some small error in the code, and that's might not be any issue that has to do with the exploit developer. It might not be their fault. It might be that the service is deployed in a different environment than it was on the ones they tested on. So a lot of things can happen. But moral of the story: always double check the exploits that you're running. Don't blindly run things. Don't be a script kiddie. Alright, so let's take a look at this exploit right here. We'll download it, save it as whatever that name is by default, and let's head into our downloads folder. Alright, so now we have this exploit right here. Let's take a look at what we can do. So if we run this exploit, we'll just type in Python 3 and then the name of it. Oops, sorry, it's actually a Python 2 exploit, so we'll just type in Python. And we seem to be missing some of the requirements for the exploit, so let's go ahead and install those. Do pip install requests. And all right, we'll try to run the exploit again. Perfect, so it seems to be working. All right, so it's asking for the target site. So what we're gonna do is specify the link we have here. Make sure to include the port number. And there's two modes that you can use here. There's the stealth web shell and the back connect web shell. Now notice that this one says that it's available upon Apache restart. Now keep in mind that message we saw on port 80 earlier, stating that the web server will be restarted every few minutes due to maintenance. That kind of gives us a hint to work towards option number 1, which is the method that I've confirmed is working. So we'll try the stealth web shell, and you can see could not identify editable page on Wiki Sandbox. So it's going to ask for authorization. So basically, we need to have an account on the website or create a page on this Wiki Sandbox page to proceed. The easiest way to do that is just to create an account. So let's go back to the Vuln0 installation here. And if we go to login, we can create an account right here. So I'm just going to create an account called test. We'll say password 123, the best password of all time. Let's see. All right, and an email, we'll just type in test@test.com. Hopefully they don't get any emails. All right, so now we user account created. Now we have an account we can use. So let's go ahead. It's going to say, do you have an account? We will say yes. The username is test. The password was password 123. And you can see that it actually failed. So the message here is it's saying, if we read through some of the logs here, we are able to log in, but we were unable to actually extract the ticket hash from Vuln0. So a lot of people will see this, that the exploit failed and just stop and say, all right, exploit doesn't work. It's not vulnerable. There's some patch in place. But that's not always the case. You should always dig deeper into these exploits, understand what it's really doing. Try to do the exploit manually or try to debug some of the script. You don't need to have too much programming knowledge to be able to do some basic debugging of these scripts like I'm going to show you. So let's check the error message here. We have this. I'm just going to copy that. And let's open up the exploit. All right. So now that we've got that open, we can search for that error message. And now we'll see exactly where the error is thrown. So we have, we saw that we reached this point. We were trying to obtain the ticket credentials to write the backdoor, but somewhere in here, it failed. So what I would do in this case is we can see that we're making some different HTTP requests with the request library, and it looks like that if it cannot grab the ticket with this regular expression, then we're going to fail and it's going to throw that error message. So what we should do is maybe go to, sorry about that. We'll go to maybe this line right here, and let's print out the actual text of the HTTP response. So we'll just type in print, and then it looks like they're saying ticket is equal to request.get, and then whatever. So let's just say print ticket.text, and let's see what happens. All right, so we're going to run this again. Just going to copy and paste that so we have it. We'll enter the target site. We're going to say 1 for the stealth web shell and fail to extract the hash. But now you can see we've got this whole mess here, which is our HTTP request. Sorry, the response from the request. Now let's go back and look at the exploit code and see what it was looking for. So in order to get the ticket, it looks like it's searching for this regular expression. So ticket equals something, ticket equals anything, and then and target. So ampersand target. So we'll get out of this. Let's just search for where this ticket could be. Now you could grep through it or do whatever, but it's right here is what we're going to be looking for. So we can see this value right here, right? And we have ticket equals, something, which is what we're looking for. This is all correct up until now. Now notice that it was looking for ticket equals something, and then an ampersand, and then target. But now we have an ampersand, and then this amp, and then it says target. So this, the ticket that it's looking for, the response it's getting right here, is not matching the regular expression in the code, and that is why the script is failing. So if we just change the regular expression, instead of having an ampersand, what we could do is have it say ampersand, amp semicolon, and let's see what happens if we change that. So we're back in this exploit code. Let's go to this regular expression here. Instead of it being ampersand target, we want ampersand AMP semicolon target. So we've changed that. All right, and let's see. Let's get this URL again. We will run the exploit. Here's our target site. Method 1. And now it looks like the exploit has succeeded. So it's saying upon Apache restart, we should be able to get our shell here and execute commands. So let's open that link up. And you can see we get unknown action, morning exec. Now that's because the Apache server has not been restarted yet. Now while we're waiting for that, let's just talk about what happened with this exploit. So we downloaded the exploit from ExploitDB. Again, that was from here. It is ExploitDB verified, so it does have that check. It's confirmed that it does work. But when we ran it, something was a little different in our installation of Moin than what they must have been testing on for the exploit development. So the regular expression wasn't matching. It wasn't able to actually get this ticket hash, so we weren't able to run the exploit, and it was failing every time. Now we were able to make a simple change in the code to fix this. So I would always recommend that when you're doing some sort of box, whether it be on Hack the Box, OSCP, what have you, if you are checking an exploit and running it and it's failing, do some investigation. Do some basic probing into it and see why it's failing. Maybe you can fix it. Maybe it's something small. Even if you don't have a programming background, it could be something simple that you can fix. All right, so now let's go ahead and check back on the payload that we sent. I'm just going to refresh this page, and it looks like it's changed a little bit, so we'll just type in who am I, and you can see that we do have remote command execution on this box. Now, just so you know, the web server actually gets rebooted every 5 minutes, so you should wait that amount of time before checking, in case you're thinking that the exploit doesn't work if you're following along. So now that we have remote command execution, what we should do is try to get a reverse shell. So I'm just going to go ahead and look up a simple bash reverse shell. All right, so we'll pull up the reverse shell cheat sheet. I guess not. And we'll go to, we'll check this site here. Perfect, so there it is. I can never remember it offhand, but this is what we want. So we'll go back, and we need to get our IP address, and then, let's see, we'll just substitute that in here. And, all right, grab our IP, put that into this command, and we'll just do it on port 443. Perfect, so we have this. We'll copy and paste it, if I can do that properly. All right, and then we're going to put it into here. So hopefully this will be the command that gets executed. Now what we want to do is actually set up our netcat listener. So sudo netcat-lvp443. Enter in our password. All right, so now we've got our netcat listener on port 443. Hopefully we should get a reverse shell after running this. Let's see what happens. Now we can see we did not get a shell. Now the reason for this is because this payload here was not URL encoded properly. The browser usually does some sort of URL encoding, but evidently in this case it was not enough. So there's multiple ways you could do this. You could put it in burp, try to fix it that way. I'm just going to look up a simple URL encoder. We'll just pull one off the internet, paste our payload in there, and then encode it. Now hopefully if we replace our payload here with the URL encoded version of this, that's just a way that we can get those spaces and other characters that aren't numbers or letters, that kind of stuff in there, and it will be interpreted properly by the server. So if we run this, oh perfect, port 443 and browsing the internet does not go well together. That our reverse shell got hit by Google's response. So all right, let's see. Now we'll try to run it, and you can see that the page just kind of spins and spins and spins. That's a good sign that we did get a reverse shell. So perfect. Now we can see that we are in the box as a low privilege user. So if we do sudo-l, the only thing we can run is sbin halt. So you can dig at that for a while, but there's no privilege escalation method that I've found, at least, that will allow us to get root through that. Now I'm going to jump straight to the chase of how we can get a privilege escalation going on here and get root on the box. So what we're going to do is go to, let's see, you need to go to Etsy cron, if I can type today, geez, go to Etsy cron.d, and we have our cron scripts that are running. So we have the 0 hourly, which is the default, but we also have this path checker. Now that's something that's definitely not a default. It's something that we put into the box. So let's take a look. If we cat that file, we can see that this is a cron job that runs every minute. It runs as root, and here's a command that it executes. So it sets the path equal to all of this, and then it runs cat against the path variable. So it's a little strange. It doesn't seem like the cron job is really doing anything, but what we can do is take a look at the directories along this path and see where cat falls in the path, and see if we can hijack the path leading to cat so that when root runs it, it gets executed. Now that might sound a little confusing if you've never done something like this. I would recommend checking out the video that I have below in the description to a video I recorded previously on privilege escalation with a writable root path. Now what we're going to find out is that if we do an ls-la of user local bin, we can see that this directory is writable. And then if we type in which cat, we're using user bin cat. So we can write to user local bin, cat is in user bin. So if we put an executable file in user local bin that is named cat, it should be executed instead of the actual cat binary. So all we're going to do is cd into user local bin. Now we are in here. If we do an ls-a, oh, our shell died. Now you'll notice that the shell may die every now and again. That is because of the web server restarting. So it restarts every 5 minutes. Your shell will probably die then. What you can do for persistence is something like put a SSH key into place, and you can just SSH right into the box, or something like that. Something that's not dependent on the actual exploit to get you back in. But what we'll do is just go back into that directory. See, there's no easy way to clear the screen. I'm just going to do it manually, then we'll get our shell back. Perfect. Alright, so we'll go back into user local bin. Now what we need to do is create a file named cat and make it executable so that when that cron job runs, it's not actually going to run the cat binary we expect. It's going to run our malicious payload. So let's see. The easiest way to do that is to take our reverse shell from before. I'm just going to decode this one again. We'll put it on a different port. Let's put it on port 53. And all we want to do is, let's get a text editor up. Actually, you know what? We can just use this. This'll do. Not really the best way to do it. We can type in here. That's fine. So we're just going to make this a quick bash script. We'll just say /bin bash. Oops, need a slash in there. And all right, so we'll have this, and then this should be our reverse shell. All we have to do is copy and paste this. We'll save it as cat in user local bin. So let's see, we'll just vim cat. Now you'll notice that if you don't have a full proper shell and you try to use Vim, it gets a little weird. If you know Vim well, then you can kind of trust your instincts and your muscle memory with this. So you'll notice I'll type in I, which should put us in insert mode, but you'll see I appear on the screen. It's actually doing what you think it's doing and putting you in insert mode. It's not actually putting I on there. So all I'm going to do is paste that in and then hit escape :WQ. It doesn't look like anything happened. It looks like it was something that was really weird. But if we, well, I guess we can't cat it anymore, can we? No, we can. We can. It's not executable. If we cat that file, we can see that it's exactly what we expected it to be, and it's working properly. So now what we need to do, we're going to open up a new terminal window. Make that a little bit bigger for you. And we're going to start listening. We'll do sudo nc-lvp on port 53. All right, so now we are listening on port 53. We have this cat file here. Now it is in the path ahead of bin cat, but what we need to do is make it executable. So we're just going to change mod it to 777. A little sloppy, but that's fine. Change mod 777 cat, and now we just need to wait a minute, and hopefully after a minute, once that cron job runs, and root runs this cron job in here. So let's go back to etc cron.d. So once this path checker cron job runs, it should set the path equal to user local bin, yada yada yada. This is where our cat binary is, and then it's going to run cat. So hopefully we should get a reverse shell as root. Now a minute just passed, and that cron job ran, we can see that we did get our reverse shell on port 53. We are root at Vuln0. You can even type in who am I, it's root, and then here is the different IP. Here's the IP we have been attacking. So now we have rooted Vuln0. So there's a quick walkthrough of how to solve Vuln0 and get root on it. I really hope this was an enjoyable box for you guys. If you want more stuff like this, let me know. I really enjoy making the automated builds. I think it's awesome to now, once you've rooted it, go back and see how we built the box. You can see every step we did in the build process because of the fact that we used Ansible and Packer to render it. In the future, I am looking for ways to just distribute the OVAs as well, but I do want to include the automated build scripts for every box if possible. Now that you've rooted it, I really do encourage you to go back and check it out, see how it was built, really understand the exploit, maybe try to build one of your own. It's a lot of fun.